I've had my LPS channel for about exactly 3 years. If I upload this on the correct date, that is. 3-year anniversary! Yay! And in those 3 years, I probably learned something. So in this video, I will be giving that knowledge back to you in the form of some tips and advice about making LPS videos. This video is mostly geared towards people who already know the very basics. Also, please keep in mind that I'm not an expert on every single aspect of video making. Anyways, ideas. They exist sometimes. You should write yours down. You can write them on paper, your phone, your computer, on a wall, on the sidewalk using chalk, the back of your hand, on the walls in abandoned grocery stores, and blood for enemies. Just write them down somehow. I have an entire document on my computer dedicated to just writing down video ideas. Stepping back a bit, coming up with ideas in the first place. Okay, so for comedy skits, and this works for other types of videos too, what I typically do is think of a location or activity, then go from there. For instance, a grocery store. Maybe someone is shopping with their kid and the kid is being really loud and obnoxious, or what if there's a super long checkout line because someone bought like a million things, or someone could be trying to shoplift, etc. A lot of people get inspiration by watching shows, watching movies, reading books, or watching pre-existing LPS videos. And now it is time for the obligatory don't copy section. Don't copy people's videos. It's really disrespectful and just kind of annoying. Also, don't copy books or shows or movies or whatever, although I don't think anyone's out here making LPS totally not Spider-Man. I have no idea what's popular. For ideas for anything really, you could always draw from your own experiences, preferably interesting experiences. A potential problem with doing this though is that depending on how much the story is based on things from your life and how personal those things are, it may skew the way you frame those events in your story. Another way to go about it is pick a genre, then build from there. For example, mystery. What kind of mystery is it? It could be anything from a locked room murder mystery to someone just trying to figure out who to return a suitcase to. If you aren't super familiar with film genres, you can always look up a list online. Also, for writing mysteries especially, know what the ending is before you start making it. Planning is extremely important for all stories, which I will get into in a minute, but first, characters are arguably the most important aspect of a story. For the most part, I start by giving the character flaws, then going from there. The reason I do this is character flaws play a huge part in driving a story. So many conflicts and just plot points in general are caused by the fact that the characters aren't perfect. It also helps me avoid making bland Mary Sue-ish characters. Obviously, characters need positive traits as well. For the most part, pure evil characters aren't the best. Also, quote-unquote positive traits can become negative depending on the situation, and vice versa. Make your characters different from each other. I struggle with this a lot, but it's so important. A story can never really be that great when all the characters are just clones of each other. This does not mean all the characters have to be polar opposites, though. I genuinely cannot think of a good example that isn't just confusing, but I hope you get the point. Also, make sure your characters are consistent. If you're about to have your character make a decision, or do anything really, ask yourself, is this something they would do? Like, a character realizing their flaws and becoming a better person as time goes on is very different from a character being super mean to someone in one scene, than being super nice to that same person 2 seconds later for absolutely no reason. Remember, developing any part of a story takes time, so don't try to rush things like creating characters too much. It all takes a lot of planning. Speaking of a slightly different type of planning, okay, let me address the elephant in the room here. Do you need to script your videos? Well, in a lot of these tips videos, I see people, even pretty big LPS tubers, say, you don't need to script your videos because, like, I'll script my videos and it's fine, it's totally fine. Just wing it, it'll be fine. And just, come on. Of course, scripting isn't going to work for everyone, but I think everyone should at least try it out. I used to be very against the idea of scripting my videos, but I tried it, and now I script basically all my videos, and it works great for me. Your first script won't be perfect, and that's completely alright and normal. My first scripts were definitely not the best. One way to help write more natural scripts is to read your lines out loud. If something you said feels unnatural, then rewrite it until it feels more natural to say. So yeah, scripting isn't required, but I definitely recommend it. Planning, on the other hand, is absolutely always necessary. Even if you're just making a short skit, you need to know what's going to happen in it before you start filming. Bullet points are a pretty good planning method. It seems to be a nice halfway point between scripting a whole video and just winging it. I personally use bullet points for outlining my scripts, but I know people use bullet points as an alternative to scripting. You can write bullet points or scripts any way you want to, really. Paper, computer, phone, blood for enemies, whatever works best for you. Also, when planning, make sure you know what props and sets you need. Like, if you need a flute for one of your scenes, check if you have one, because it would be pretty annoying to sit down only to realize you don't even have one. And while we're on the topic of sets, where Where do I even begin? Let's start off with background, aka walls and floor. I use scrapbook paper, which you can easily get at most craft stores. A very basic background works just fine for talking videos. Just make sure you can't see where the background cuts off. Don't do this. If you're buying scrapbook paper, I'd recommend getting at least 2 sheets of each paper you're buying instead of just 1. For times like this, or if you want to show 2 walls at once. Now for props, or just set pieces in general. For furniture, I often use Calico Crew / Sylvanian Family, Playmobil, and dollhouse miniature stuff that I mostly get from Michael's. You can even use things from around your own house. This is a thimble, but now it's a waste paper basket. There are also plenty of tutorials on how to make various LPS size things. As I said, very plain sets work fine for talking videos, but not so fine for other types of videos. In my opinion, more detailed sets are better for the most part, not to the point where it becomes distracting from the video itself, obviously, and only use props that would make some sort of sense to be there. For example, this is fine, but it's a little boring. This, in my opinion, is better. Background props can add quite a bit of atmosphere and sometimes even tell you about the story. Like, this character seems to be having trouble with something like an assignment, or maybe a personal project, and they don't know how to refill a cup for some reason. Or maybe they're just messy. Or maybe they've been too busy to clean. I'm not entirely sure if that makes sense. Anyways. A lot of people talk about how important good lighting is, and they're right, it is very important. Quick disclaimer, I honestly don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to lighting, as you could probably tell, but having at least decent lighting is pretty necessary. This is how my videos would look without extra light. It really brings down the general quality by quite a lot. For lighting, I personally use this. It works decently most of the time. A lot of people talk about just using natural light for filming, like filming next to a window, which seems to work okay. I'm not personally able to film right next to a window. The big problem with using natural light, though, is that, well, the sun isn't always there. It kind of restricts when and where you can film. For example, where I live, for most of the year it's almost always cloudy and or rainy, so there's a lot less natural light. Also, keep in mind that what you might perceive as a well-lit room, your filming device could still show as being dark. We have eyes that adjust to lower light levels, but cameras don't. They don't have any eyes at all. Hope. Speaking of filming, there's going to be a lot of examples in this section, so be prepared for that. In case anyone's wondering, I film using a Canon Vixia HFR 800. Why do they all have such long names? You don't really need an expensive camera to film though. Just using a phone seems to work okay for a lot of people. Obviously there will be some difference in quality, but it isn't significant enough to ruin your videos or anything. If you're filming with a phone though, please record horizontally. It looks so much better. Just flip your phone on its side, I beg of you. Film in multiple clips. It takes longer, but it really is worth it. Take a look at how this scene looks as just one long clip versus several smaller clips. How's your day going? It was fine. That's until you showed up. Hey, how's your day going? It was fine. That's, well, until you showed up. The second version looks a lot better. Another positive of filming this way is that if you mess up, there's less you need to redo. Film at eye level. What I mean by this is, you see the camera angle I have right now? How my mascot's face is kind of in the middle of the frame. What if I did something more like this? Or this? It looks a lot worse. There are exceptions to this, as with all the other quote-unquote rules I've stated, but 95% of the time it's best to film around eye level. Avoid handheld filming. It looks really bad, even if you have steady hands. If you need to film something higher up, like your LPS is in a chair for example, then try putting something underneath your filming device like so. Just try to avoid handheld filming. Also, if you have a tripod, just use the tripod. I don't have a tripod. And on that note, I'm going to be completely honest here, I'm not good at voice acting and don't know that much about it from a technical perspective. I do, however, think there are still some tips I can give you despite that. Be expressive, or as expressive as would make sense for the situation. Don't underact. Here's a comparison of inexpressive versus expressive voice acting. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry, it was just a mistake. Just a mistake? Your mistake is going to cost me everything. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry, it was just a mistake. Just a mistake? Your mistake is going to cost me everything! Make sure to always speak loudly and clearly. Obviously don't yell, but talk at a higher volume than you might normally talk at. It helps filming devices pick up what you're actually saying. Also, don't forget to drink water, and take breaks if you need to. Especially especially if your throat starts getting sore. Alright, now let's talk about character voices. If you're making LPS videos, you're probably going to end up voicing many, if not all, your characters. So it's important to be able to do multiple voices. Honestly, the best advice I can give for this is just the cop-out advice nobody likes to hear. Just practice. Practice different voices, emotions, pitches, whatever. Just practice as much as you can. Also, keep your voices for each character consistent. If you start out with your character talking like this, then they should keep talking like this for the duration of the video. Not sure how much of a problem this is for other people, but I can't count how many times my characters' voices would go from this to this in my older videos. If you can't remember what voice you were doing, check back to what you've already recorded. That is it for the voice acting section. I told you I didn't know much. Now let's move on to... Music is so incredibly important for LPS videos. It helps set the tone a lot, especially since LPS don't have expressions or body language. It helps to fill that void, I guess. Like, even this video is a little awkward with no music. For music, I mostly use stuff by Kevin MacLeod and the occasional piece from other places like the YouTube audio library. I know, I'm so very different from other LPS tubers. What I have for finding music is actually watching other LPS videos, then checking the description to see if they credit the music or if it's been automatically credited. It sounds kind of weird, but hear me out. I have a whole playlist dedicated to copyright-free music. Again, a little kind of really weird, but most of it I found by doing that. Make sure the music is at a good volume so it's audible but isn't so loud it overpowers everything else. This is honestly more difficult than it seems like it should be. Like, now it sounds like I don't even have any music. Can you even hear me? I don't know, I haven't decided how loud I'm gonna actually make this in editing. Choose appropriate music. Using music that clashes with the mood of a scene/video is almost worse than using no music in my opinion. While this is a good representation of how making this video feels, it doesn't really work, like, at all. Don't be afraid to only use small portions of various songs if part of the song fits but the rest doesn't. Like if you need a really sad song and you find the perfect thing, but it switches to being more hopeful and happy halfway through. This is a really specific pet peeve of mine. Also, I'm going to quickly mention sound effects. I tend to end up getting my sound effects by looking them up on YouTube, then finding whatever seems best there. And just like with music, sound effects should be at a good volume. This isn't quite as important as it is for music, but it's kind of annoying to be watching a video then get jump scared by a doorbell. That's all I have to say about music. And now for everyone's absolute favorite part of the process. Editing. In case you couldn't tell, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Honestly, I still haven't found a program I like. One program you should not use is OpenShot. Not that anyone is going to. I don't really know if it's better now, but it was awful when I used it. And this is the program I currently use. It is also awful. It will crash with literally zero warning, it's overpriced, and it's missing some pretty important features. In case you couldn't tell, I'm not going to give you any editing program recommendations. Give me some recommendations, dude, I have nothing. Make sure to edit out unnecessary pauses. It's kind of weird and awkward if you don't, and it disrupts the flow of the video, like, a lot. And always save your projects frequently. Please. You never know when something might happen and make you have to revert back to a previous save. Unless you use the program I use, then saving will not help you. Also make sure to take breaks, just in general. Honestly, good editing just comes with experience. At this point I can just kind of tell what's going to work. I'm definitely not perfect, but nearly 4 years worth of experience does kind of get you somewhere. I know this isn't super helpful as advice, but it is something to keep in mind. Anyways, last but not least, why do you want to be an LPS tuber? This is mostly a rhetorical question, but still worth thinking about. A lot of people talk about, oh, you should care about the views and likes and subscribers, and yeah, which, I mean, yeah, but it isn't always that easy to just not care at all, for me at least. Just try not to have the mindset of, I'm going to get popular or famous or whatever. Because there's a high chance that just won't happen. The YouTube algorithm values quantity over quality so much and it sucks. I feel like this whole sounds super depressing, but what matters is that you're having fun and enjoying yourself, and it's important to find some way to do that without it directly being tied to views and likes. This might have just been me self-projecting, but I feel like I'm not the only one with these issues. Also, it's important to push yourself because that's part of how you learn, but recognize what's going to be too much. Like how a couple months ago I made this skit that ended up taking me months to make and it was awful. I cried while filming that video. I mean, that's just me being a little weak little baby, but you know, you get the point. push yourself in ways that are healthy. And take breaks if you need to. It's not the same thing as procrastination. Creative burnout is a real thing, and if you think that's what you're experiencing, then try taking a break. In the long run, it's a lot better than just trying to push through it. Your mental health should always come before something like making videos. Okay, bye. I'm